Hi everyone, I'm Bonnie Durrani. I'm the co-founder of the Society for Mitral Valve Prolapse Syndrome / dysautonomia. Some of you have seen me on YouTube before, and if you live in the Chicago area, maybe you've come to our support groups, seminars, maybe I've talked to you on the phone, or maybe you've emailed me. Anyway, I am going to wing this today, so please bear with me. I'm going to give you, first of all, our website is mitralvalveprolapse.com, easy to remember. You can email me at Bonnie, BONNIE 0107 at AOL.com. We have a newsletter that we publish 4 times a year. We wrote a book which we sell, and we have a great DVD of the best seminar ever held, we think, anywhere. And so we have all those resources for you, and you can go into our website and purchase them, or just go into our website whether you want to purchase or not, because there's a lot of really good information on it. And we know that there's not a lot of information out there for people with mitral valve prolapse syndrome. So the more you learn, the better you'll be able to live with this complex syndrome that we all share. Well, what I have today is we did a survey of all the people that receive our newsletter by mail or online, and it certainly is not scientific. Doctors would probably laugh at it, but we think it's important because it shows you that you're not alone, and that these symptoms that you're living with and having a hard time with, and maybe your doctor is patting you on the head and telling you that it has nothing to do with your mitral valve prolapse, and it's very, very, very frustrating. So we do this seminar we do this survey every few years, just to show you that there's a lot of other people out there with symptoms like yours. And I'm not going to go through all these questions because I'll be here all day, but let's start with the first one. We asked people if they have been diagnosed with mitral valve prolapse syndrome, and 58.2% said yes. And that was very surprising to us because we've been around for a long time, and to get diagnosed with mitral valve prolapse is not so hard, but to get diagnosed with mitral valve prolapse syndrome has always been very hard. And so it looks like, we've done some good, and all the other people that are working to get this out to the doctors to make them understand that there is a syndrome associated with MVP in 40% of the people. Not everybody have the syndrome. So over 58% of people diagnosed with the syndrome, that's great news. And if you're some of those people, we would love for you to send us your doctor's name and address and phone number so we could put that in our database, because there's not a lot of doctors that understand this. Now, the next question we asked, have you been diagnosed with dysautonomia? That's a different story. Only 4.4% of you have been diagnosed with dysautonomia. So that is really a hard diagnosis to get. And there are some doctors that understand it, but very, very few, and very few that want to go through the process of diagnosing you with dysautonomia. So that's why it's good to go on our website and get our resources to help you understand it. Sometimes you can teach your doctor about it. If you find a doctor with an open mind, you can help them understand it better, and then they'll be able to take care of you better. So then we went down and said, are you satisfied with your doctor's treatment? 19.8% were satisfied. So that's not too low, I guess, but we'd like it to be much higher. Doctors you've seen for your symptoms. Well, over 69% have gone to a cardiologist. That's the first place people usually go. But 37% have seen neurologists, 25% psychiatrists, 17% rheumatologists, and that's probably because a lot of people with mitral valve prolapse also have fibromyalgia. Many of you have gone to gynecologists, 22%, 18% to psychologists, and I'm sure that and the psychiatrist is because you're having anxiety, panic attacks, and or depression. 33% have seen gastroenterologists, and we have a lot of GI problems, which I'll mention a little bit later. 53% internal medicine, and 9.9% have gone to endocrinologists, 7.7% pulmonologists. So you can see all the different types of doctors that people have seen to try to figure out why they're having all these symptoms. And it really doesn't matter what the doctor's specialty is. What matters is if he is kind and understanding. Hopefully he has some knowledge of MVP syndrome. But if he doesn't and he's open-minded, then you can get some good treatment. We just want you to get the correct treatment. Even if you're not diagnosed correctly, if they're giving you the correct treatment, that's something. Anyway. Okay, have you been told you have low blood pressure? 38.5% said yes. Migraine headaches, 27.5%. Panic attacks, 54.9% of the people we surveyed have panic attacks. That's huge. And then when we go over and ask, do you have panic or anxiety? 62.6% people have panic and or anxiety. That again is huge. When I talk to people on the phone or email, I have to tell you that most of them have some kind of anxiety during their life. Let's see what else. 15.4% have been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, I don't know if this is really a true diagnosis or it's just the terrible fatigue that people with MVP get. That is the number one complaint of people with mitral valve prolapse, and that comes from the dysautonomia MVP Center in Alabama. They say it's in the 95% of people that come in there complain of terrible fatigue. What's another good one? Spastic colon or IBS, 31.9%. That's high according to the normal population. I hear all the time, and in fact in our April issue of our newsletter we're writing about irritable bowel syndrome, because if you have it, you know how bad it can be. If you don't have it, you don't understand. But if you have irritable bowel syndrome, it affects your whole life. You're afraid to go out, you're afraid to eat in restaurants. When you go places, you always need to know where the restrooms are. It affects your whole life, as I said. 17.6% of people said they have a thyroid disorder. I expected that to be higher because we are finding out that people with MVP have a lot of thyroid problems. Mostly hypothyroid, but there's also people with hyperthyroid. And then you have to be careful because that thyroid conditions can make your heart beat fast or have palpitations. So there's kind of a confusion there. Is it MVP or thyroid? So you need to get a doctor that really understands that. I don't know why, but 37.4% of us have elevated cholesterol. I don't think that has anything to do with MVP. I think that that's just a lot of people have high cholesterol. 28.6% have a sleep disorder. We expected that to be higher too, because when we talk to people, and in my own family and myself, I know that we have sleep disorders. It's either hard for you to fall asleep, or you might wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't go back to sleep. Some people wake up in the middle of the night with nocturnal panic attacks. You wake up, your heart is pounding, you might be sweating, you're scared to death, you have this feeling of impending doom. You think you're going to die. And so there's a lot of people with sleep disorders, and sometimes they'll need to go to a sleep clinic. 34.1% have esophageal reflux, GERD. That's another big problem, GI problem. And many times if you have IBS, you also have GERD. So that's why you're going to the gastroenterologist. 28.6% of people say they have TMJ. That's another one that I think probably more people have it than that, but in our survey that's what you told us. 22% have PMS. I think that's higher too, because we talked to these poor women who have a terrible time right before their period. They get more symptoms, palpitations, can't sleep, anxiety. It's not a good time for women during PMS. Okay, then we asked, have you experienced any of the following? Chest pain or tightness. 60% said yes, they have that. Lack of energy, 63.8%. Dizziness, especially when standing up quickly, 53.9% of people said they do have that. Rapid heart rate, 62.6%. Again, that's very high. Forceful heartbeat, 61.5%. And you know what that is if you have it. You hear that, you hear and you feel that pound, boom, 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 like your heart is going to fly out of your chest. That's a forceful heartbeat. 40.7% of you said you avoid supermarkets and crowded malls. 41.1% have shortness of breath or a smothering feeling. And that smothering feeling can happen during the night too, and that's another thing that can wake you up and scare you and sometimes send you to the emergency room. This is a strange one, difficulty swallowing. 35.2% said they have difficulty in swallowing. We don't know exactly what that is. Sometimes you feel a lump in your throat, that's called globus. And sometimes you just have a hard time swallowing, like with pills. A lot of that comes from anxiety. 15.4% of people have fainting spells, which we don't like, because not that it can be dangerous, but it usually isn't dangerous, because as soon as you faint and you hit the floor, you come back to your normal self again. But we don't want you hitting your head and getting hurt. So if you have fainting spells, your doctor should know about that. 62.6% have extra heartbeats, and those are probably PVCs. People feel like their heart skips a beat. Actually, it's an extra beat, but because there's that short time in between the beats, it feels like your heart stops for a second. And please let me reassure you, your heart does not stop. It's a premature ventricular contraction. And if I talk to people who don't have PVCs with MVP, I'm surprised. They're not dangerous. Of course, always let your doctor know. There's some things that you can do to help that, and that's going to be in our next newsletter too. I already went over the panic and anxiety. Palpitations, well, so far, that's the highest one, 71.4%. Again, it can be PVCs, it can be PACs. It can feel like a flutter in your chest, like there's butterflies. in your chest. People have all kinds of explanations for the palpitations, but that kind of goes hand in hand with MVP. 34.4% of people say they have a feeling that they're out of control. 58.2% say they have difficulty falling or staying asleep. 37.4% of people said they have feelings of aloneness and sadness. And I can understand that. When you're going through all these symptoms, if you haven't got them under control, of course you feel alone and sad, especially if your friends and family don't understand what's going on. You probably keep it to yourself, and that makes it worse, by the way. Talk about it. I talk about it to everybody. 49.5% of you have been to the emergency room. I'm surprised that's not more. Let's see. Has anyone in your extended family had symptoms similar to yours? 38.5% say yes, they do. And there's probably more that have them, and they just don't talk about it because it's very, very hereditary. Usually if you have it, somebody else in your family has it. We have 8.8% of people who have lost their job because of their symptoms. Many people do not work outside of the home because of their symptoms. 11% say that their symptoms have caused marital problems, and 12% have been divorced, probably because of their symptoms. Here's one that always gets to me. Do you refuse to take medication that your doctor has prescribed? 24.2% say yes. Or actually, yes, no, I don't take medicines that my doctor prescribed. People will tell me they have all these bottles in their medicine cabinet and they just look at them, but they don't take them. That's part of the MVP personality. We're very afraid to take medication. But on the other hand, the next question was, are you taking medication now? And 50.5% said they are. So that's a big difference from the last survey. More and more people are now taking medication. And for those of you that are saying, I will never take medication, don't cringe. Sometimes your life gets so bad, it's what happened to me, that I would have taken anything to get rid of my symptoms. And I did, and I'm good. My family and I are all on medication, and we're doing great. We couldn't do this if we weren't on medication. 29% of you avoid driving. That's like one of the biggest phobias that we hear from people. They avoid driving, or they drive just in certain areas. 39% say you have an inability to concentrate. That's also part of the MVP syndrome. Do your family and friends understand your disorder? 22% say that yes, their family and friends do understand. And those people are lucky, because we get a lot of calls and emails about people that, they call us actually crying because they try to explain what's going on with them, and their family and friends don't understand. Well, why can't you go out? Why can't you drive over here? Why can't you do this? And people kind of think you're a hypochondriac. You're not a hypochondriac. This is a real disorder, and it is not life-threatening, but lifestyle-threatening. Have you been told it's all in your head? 19.8% said yes, they have. Have you been told you're a hypochondriac? 17.6% have. Now, I don't know if they've been told this by their family, friends, or doctors, because some doctors will say that to a person, which really makes me angry. 18.7% said they use natural products for their symptoms. If you have children, do any of them have the same symptoms you have? 22% said yes. That's always sad. I know how that is because my 3 children all inherited this dominant gene from me. I inherited it from my mother, and when I look back into my mother's family, oh my gosh, I always just thought our family was strange, but it turns out that this is what was going on. My brother and his 4 children also inherited it. Now, we asked what medications are most used, so I just want to go over the list for you because I think it's interesting. And this is an order of the most popular medicines that are used: metoprolol, lopressor, toprol, atenolol, Xanax, Celexa, Cymbalta, Klonopin, Zoloft, Corgard, Lexapro, Inderol, Buspar, Prozac, Imipramine, Ativan, Remeron, Ambien, Trazodone, Elavil, Synthroid, Armour Thyroid, Magnesium, B12, Valerian, baby aspirin, St. John's wort, and various sleep aids. And I have a star here by St. John's wort. Don't ever take St. John's wort if you're on an antidepressant. It's dangerous. They don't put that on the package or in the well, there is no insert in over-the-counter natural stuff. But St. John's wort combined with an antidepressant can be very dangerous. So that is our survey. This is new. You can go on our website and it will. You can just click on the survey and it will take you right to it. But while you're in there, please look over everything on the website. Like I said before, there's a lot of information in there. We update questions and answers all the time. Dr. Watkins, who was the co-founder and director of the Mitral Valve Prolapse Center in Alabama, answers questions and answers for us. He just recently retired, which we are very sad about. But the 2 doctors that worked with him for the last 20 years opened up a new center still in Alabama, Vestavia Hills, I believe. You can find that on our website, their address. And so now they're going to be answering questions for us, which we will publish in our newsletter, and then we will put on our website at a later date. As I said before, our book for some reason was written several years ago, and all of a sudden it's becoming more popular. So the publisher raised the price of it. We're still $18 for the book, and that's with shipping and handling. But they did raise their price, so don't buy it from the publisher. The name of it is the Mitral Valve Prolapse Syndrome Dysautonomia Survival Guide. Our DVD is absolutely wonderful. It's a 3-set DVD, and it has Dr. Watkins and other doctors from Alabama speaking and answering questions. 500 people attended that seminar. Like I said, we feel it's the best seminar that's ever been had. It certainly was the biggest one. So we have that. Soon we will have a DVD of Dr. Watkins giving a very good overview of mitral valve prolapse. And he gave this presentation to a group of doctors. So it's very good. It's just going to be one DVD. I'm not sure what it will cost yet. We have to see how much to mail it out and everything. But I want you to know that we're here You can email me anytime. It might take me a few days to get back to you because we get a lot of emails. You can call us. All our information on our website. We would love it if you would subscribe to our newsletter, because since we're a nonprofit charitable organization, that's what we use to go ahead and get information out to people all over the world. And we do hear from people all over the world. It's pretty amazing. We'll get somebody from Hong Kong or Australia. For some reason we have a lot of people from Australia, and they'll say, we need a doctor. Please tell us where we can find a doctor, because our doctors here don't know as much as your doctors. Well, they don't realize that we don't have a lot of doctors here that I can give out their names to either. So as I said before, if you have a doctor that's treating you well, please email us, call us, write us a little note and tell us who they are so that we can put them in our database. So I thank you for listening. I hope that this has helped you to understand that you're not alone. But I also want you to know that there is treatment for this. There are things you can do naturally, lifestyle changes, and then of course if that doesn't work, there's medication. So call us, talk to us. We'll try to help you as much as we can. Thanks.